Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCourcy and Matt Watson.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCourcy here with Matt Watson. Hi, Matt.
What's going on, man?
Oh, just sitting here once again. Forgot to say that the podcast is brought to you by Fullscale.io. Hi, Matt.
Oh, jeez.
I know.
Hey,
I'll get it right.
I'll make you a deal tonight.
All right.
If you come over and make me dinner, I'll give you some free wine.
I'm not so sure about that, dude. I'm a terrible cook. I seriously, I can't cook in the microwave.
I didn't say it had to be good. I just said I'd give you free wine.
I'll tell you what, it's funny that you've asked, and the timing on this is really ideal because I've got someone here that can help with that.
Oh.
Are you interested?
So maybe he comes along and he cooks and we both just drink wine?
Yes, I think that's the actual plan that we should engage.
Oh.
And so with that, I want to introduce our friend that cooks, the CEO and founder of Friend That Cooks, which is also found at weeklymealprep.com, Mr. Brandon Odell.
Hello. Hi, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming in.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Your timing is amazing.
Will you work for wine?
Oh, I work for wine.
He's got good wine too, yeah.
But I have a lot of other people that would work for wine, chili peppers, Kobe beef.
Wow.
Kobe beef's kind of expensive.
Seafood.
Yeah.
What about ramen noodles?
You should see that funny story right off the bat. The name for my company came from me cooking for my friends late at night. After I've always been in the food business. I have a friend in Wichita that owns a couple different bars, and we closed it down every once in a while, 3-4 nights a week probably, and and at least once or twice a week, he would spring for the groceries roundabout when he was ready to get off, and there'd be other friends of ours that were there, and we would all go over to our house to have late night food, and 9 times out of 10 it was ramen noodles done with something special, because he used to brag to people that you would not believe what Brandon can do with ramen noodles.
Yeah, there you go.
By the time it's finished, they're not even ramen noodles.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your business a little bit. So many people with our busy lives and wives and stuff like that, time is at a premium. And, you spend so much time shopping for food. Well, I don't personally, but at my house, someone does. Shopping for food, planning meals, preparing the meals, and then cleaning up after those meals or getting ready, all that. That's a lot of time. So, we always talk on the podcast that any good business solves a problem, and that's the problem you guys solve.
That is. We estimate that we save our average client 10 or more hours per week in time to plan menus, to go grocery shopping, to cook meals, to clean everything up, going out to eat even. Sometimes that's a big time commitment.
Yeah,
so if you
absolutely.
take a family of 4 out to eat, you're talking 2 hours by the time you leave the house, get home, come back, and everything else. So our main product really is time. That's what we save people.
Well, and then to clearly define that, your business works with people to have a chef come to your home and prepare these meals, plan them, work with you. Like, for example, Matt, you have one or more children that has a nut allergy.
I have 3 kids. One of them has an allergy.
And so based on that, obviously it's pretty important to not kill children while we're preparing food, but
Right.
that's a serious thing. And it's come up, and I've been around you and your family, and it's it's not something you want to occur. So these are the kind of dietary restrictions and stuff like that you guys help plan. Like, I just jumped back onto the keto diet today. That was something that I'm sure you guys could help me prepare keto-friendly meals. And the more you think about it, you're like, wow, if someone just came over and did all this stuff and was ready for me for the rest of the week, that'd be pretty awesome.
Sure. I'd estimate that there's probably a third of our clientele that have special dietary needs.
Yeah.
And I found out really how common it was when I started this company 12 years ago. In Wichita, my second client had celiac disease. She couldn't eat wheat. And up till that point, my standards were to cook things from scratch as much as possible. It's a pride thing. And my ability to cook things from scratch allowed me to change the ingredients, substitute things, just leave things altogether out that really lend it to her special diet needs. And when I went into this, that really wasn't a focus. Really, it was about busy families and people needing extra time and taking that off their plate for the week. And the special diet needs has turned into a major part of what we do. And the keto diet is really popular.
Sure.
We have,
and that's changed over the years
dozens
too.
and dozens
Yeah,
of
there's all
families.
kinds of different things. One of the things. So you said you started this business in 2007. This has gone pretty well. You were in 12 cities, which are Kansas City, Wichita, Des Moines, Omaha, St. Louis, Chicago, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, I believe, Denver, Indianapolis, D.C., and Dallas. That's a lot of places.
It is.
So how do
It is.
you all right? And that's what we're really the main theme around today is food service startups. And Matt and I, we own a service business. We do tech services. It's a little different, but
Yeah.
Obviously one of the things that occurs as you grow is you need more people, which is sometimes a wild card,
Right.
sometimes easy, and I think that's what we can get into today. Is a lot of people, the service business is the most popular small business in the world.
Absolutely.
It's something that a lot of people own service businesses and might not even know it.
Right.
Anytime you're doing something for someone, you're performing services for the most part. So you have a different kind of issues, startup problems,
Scalability
just
problems.
all of it.
Yeah.
All of it is.
So tell me, how exactly does your service work? So there's different types of meal service programs.
Sure.
So how exactly does yours work?
So ours,
If I signed up for it, what exactly happens?
So the main thing that differentiates us from other services is we don't sell food, we sell service.
Okay.
We are, in effect, the easiest way to describe it would be a maid service but with chefs. So it's a weekly service. The chefs come in for half a day every week to plan a menu for the week, to do the shopping for that menu, to cook on site in the client's home, to portion those meals out either individually or family style. They clean up, and then they leave the refrigerator stocked with meals to reheat for the entire week.
Okay.
And you can do all of that in half a day, including going to buy the food?
Yes.
Wow.
And
All right.
that's why it's...
That would take me half the week.
It would. For most people,
Yeah.
it would take... We're turning days into hours
Yeah.
because of the quality of the chefs that we hire.
Okay.
And so they're preparing, is it like a lunch and a dinner both, or?
It's completely up to the client. So
Okay.
we have some clients that'll have us prepare dinners for 7 nights of the week. We
Okay.
have other clients that say, well, I still like to cook, so I just need help 4 or 5 nights of the week, and then I want some lunches to take to school, and then my kids really need something
Right.
to grab in the morning.
And
before
so the
they go to
refrigerated
school.
food will always last like a week.
So according to the U.S. food code for restaurants, prepared foods are good for 7 days.
Okay.
So which is why we don't offer biweekly service or monthly service or anything outside
Okay.
the weekly structure, because we don't want to take on that liability of what happens to the food. We want to be back the following week.
Right.
So we have control over that, and we make sure that nobody gets sick. There's some things that, even though pathogen-wise they last for 7 days, that quality-wise they're just not good for 7 days. So we advise the clients, if we make seafood, for example, you don't want to eat shrimp that was cooked 6 days ago. It's not going to make you sick, but it's going to smell bad. You're not going to
Texture
like it when you
gets
heat
a
it
little
up.
weird,
Sure.
whatever.
So
Is that the kind of stuff, like when I'm talking to one of your chefs and I'm like, just say Joan, and Joan says, well, you say you want shrimp, but that's going to be 6 days from now. It'll smell weird.
Well,
Because that'd be good to know before
Sure.
the 6th day arrives.
Well, sure. What we do is we tell them up front, from even before they ever talk to a chef, when they call our office and talk to our administrative assistant, we're describing the service to them. We tell them that if there's ever any specific instructions for a particular food, for example, if we make seafood for you, you need to eat that first.
Right.
You don't save that till the end of the week. You eat it first, because that's when it's going to be best. Then the chef will communicate that to you, and we leave detailed notes on what we make, and if there's any specific reheating instructions. Most of the food that we make, we cook to about 80% done, so that way when it's reheated, it's not overcooked. But it also makes it to where they can reheat it long enough to bring it up above 140
Right.
degrees is the magic number to kill pathogens and those things. And we tell them, reheat it to where it's just a little bit too hot to put right in your mouth, and everything will be good. And
So let's talk about the people that do this, because you mentioned earlier, I said, wow, I said, oh, you do that all in half a day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's due to the quality of the chefs that we hire. So, I mean, that sounds very similar to like what we do at Full Scale. We hire senior software engineers, but with that term senior or quality or experience, that's immediately like thinning your applicant pool like a lot.
it does.
And then you have to find people that want to go do it in people's homes and that are reliable and stuff like that. I mean, is that a difficult part of what you do?
The difficult part is balancing the demand for chefs versus the availability of chefs versus the availability of clients. There's always cooks out there who are overqualified for what they're doing. One thing that we're fortunate to be in an industry that doesn't usually take care of its employees.
Cooks at restaurants don't really make very much money,
No,
so
they don't make much money.
Well, unless you're like the top chef, and then you might
at a really
right?
nice
Yeah,
restaurant
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they usually don't make a lot of money. They don't make benefits usually. They usually have to work evenings and weekends and holidays.
Yeah.
So what we can do is we can go into the industry and cherry pick the line cook that has more culinary skill than your average chef, but may not have the management experience to be an executive chef, or the sous chef that was promoted and thought this was his way up the ladder, then found out that he's now working 80 hours a week for $35,000 a year, and in effect making less than minimum wage.
Yeah.
Luckily for me, there are a lot of those people in the industry, and one of the missions of my company is to provide those people, as well as our clients, a better quality of life. So we can offer them weekday hours,
Yep.
banker's hours,
Yep.
full benefits. I mean, we have better benefits than any
I would think
food
the
service
weekday
company that
hours
I've
would be a
seen.
big thing, because
Yeah.
one of the things. So I mean, it's been forever since. And by the way, before I get into this, I actually need to stop for a second because I want to thank Stephen Ford from Penco for sending us really awesome pens.
Thank
I
you.
don't want to
Thank
forget.
you. Thank you.
They came
Yeah.
in the mail today.
They are
and
pretty amazing.
With a really awesome note. I'm literally taking show notes here. You can look on the YouTube channel. These have like this is a real diamond, right? It's
Yeah,
like
it
this,
is.
This is like a.
It's like 10 carats or something.
Is that
Yeah.
it? I think it's like
It looks like a
15.
magic scepter.
It does, and it might be. And they write really well. I'm really happy with it. So yes, Stephen Ford at Penco, thank you for the pens.
Yep.
And next time you send us some pens, let us know what your website is so I can tell everybody where to go buy them.
So my question for you is what does this cost? So if I'm going to use this service, what does this cost me?
So we have 3 different pricing levels depending on the cities that we're in, because we have varying levels of demand in different cities
Right.
and varying level of availability for chefs. So in Kansas City, for example, our weekly meal prep costs $44 per hour.
Okay.
The average family of 4 requires 4 to 5 hours of service, so anywhere from $175
Okay.
to $220 a week.
Plus the cost of the food itself.
Plus the cost
Okay.
of the groceries, but we typically save families money on groceries because we're buying raw ingredients instead of prepared ingredients, so they're cheaper, even though we can hand select them and get higher quality ingredients. We're not doing any impulse buying when we're at the grocery store. So,
Dude, where you really save money is you give people their time back.
right?
Like, I mean, what's the, I've spent so much time over the years talking, what's the value of your time? Like, I 1 hour of my time is worth more than you charge for a week. And so, like, if that's going to give back that amount of time, like, that's invaluable. And we've
Right.
had guests on here that have used the term time arbitrage, meaning, like, you just can't make more of it.
Yeah.
Right?
So how you utilize it, and then, like, you look back, I mean, and maybe this is different. I don't think I want to, like, lay on my deathbed and be like, man, I sure wish I cooked at home more.
So it's interesting, Matt, have you ever used the meal delivery services like Blue Apron or any of that kind of stuff?
I haven't, but as you're aware, at many times over the last 10 years, we've had what we call a domestic manager at our home, and we've had people that had a culinary background. It wasn't it was kind of like what we would look for. So we did this before we had kids. So we had someone that helped with a lot of the things but it went past food.
Right.
And then honestly, some of them, and if you're listening, I'm sorry, only one of you was really a good cook, and then I got really fat. Which is true, but so I've never. You're talking like Blue Apron.
Yeah, so
whatever it is,
I've used a couple different services. I've used locally in Kansas City something called like Healthy Meals or Success Meals or whatever.
Meals,
and so every
Meals.
day,
That doesn't sound like a
Success
trademark
Meals.
violation, by the way.
So every single day they would drop off food in a cooler at my house. And I did that before, and then I've also used like Blue Apron and things like that. There was like 2 or 3 of those I've used before, where they send you all the raw ingredients.
I have a fundamental problem with the carbon footprint that some of that stuff does.
It's a lot of shipping.
Yeah, it's a lot of shipping, and it feels kind of unnecessary.
Right.
So much of it's like about it doesn't, like what you're talking about is like going just right up the street, getting all the actual ingredients. Which on some levels is, there's so much crap in some of the stuff you eat. And I just don't know. Like, I like the idea of having it be a little, how much do those things cost though? Those
they're
things
pretty expensive.
They're as
very
expensive.
expensive.
Well, yeah.
Depending on the company, or like Blue Apron, they don't even cook it for you. So it's essentially
Right.
the most expensive way to buy groceries.
Yes.
But
people do it because it's convenient. They don't want to take. They don't want to take the time to chop it up. That's the issue I've got. Like, I don't like sitting there with a knife and a cutting board and doing all that. It's just, I know some people really do. I know a lot of people that they're like, man, I just love cooking, and I just don't.
I did like the Blue Apron stuff from the standpoint of they give you like a really great recipe. They give you the exact ingredients you have, and it's pretty easy to follow the directions, and you end up making some pretty awesome food.
Right. But wouldn't you be happier just having someone else do all of it?
Yeah.
Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the key ways that we're different from a lot of those services is that, truthfully, we're not far off on the price point. Because Blue Apron, even though they're not delivering cooked meals, it still comes out to about $8 to $10 per meal.
Is that what yours come out to? Like,
so ours are closer to they vary probably between 10 and 20 if you price it that way. And we don't actually sell the meals, we sell the service, but when people break it down, if they use, say it's a busy working couple and they're getting dinners and lunches for both of them for 6 days of the week, they're getting 24 total portions, and they use 4.5 hours of service, which is around $200, and we spend $120 at the grocery store. It's about $320. If they're getting 24 portions out of that, they're paying $15. So a lot of these delivered meals are around the $12 to $20 price range, depending on what they are. If they're seafood, nicer things, they can be closer to 20. If they're hamburger and cheaper things, they can be closer to 10. But those are for things that are mass cooked in a factory by low-wage employees who don't have great working conditions and no creative freedom.
Yeah, and that's part of what I like about what you guys do is there's I like the idea of of the quote service provider that you get to know, like we said with the domestic managers we had, and that was a term that covered. They didn't clean our homes, but they did kind of help with our, laundry and other stuff like that. And I just think about like how much easier it wasn't. My life didn't really change because, quite honestly, I didn't do a whole lot of that stuff at my house anyway.
Right.
But what it did change was my wife, and at one point she was my girlfriend, and she was helping with some of that stuff, and it made her happier, which they like to say, happy wife, happy life.
Right.
It's just, but my point is like sometimes that's something that can smooth all your shit over a lot better when it's just like, because that's stressful stuff. Like, because what happens is on Wednesday you're like out of food, and you're like, oh, but the kids, I don't know, man. I got a 2.5-year-old and a 4.5-year-old, and I'm positive that they never quit screaming, crying, or talking. So you got kind of like that, got that coming up, and now you're having to drag that to the store, and I don't know, it's a lot.
So as you mentioned earlier, talking about startups, right? So like Blue Apron is a big company startup, right? And there's other people who do this.
Are they the one that got bought by Amazon, or was that someone else?
Blue Apron went public.
In public,
it was Whole Foods got bought by Amazon, and they'd use that to try and get into the meal delivery business.
So and then there's these other services, right? So it's interesting you think about how to scale these things. The way that you guys do this is so much easier. It's more decentralized, right? Versus if you're Blue Apron or somebody, you have like a giant ass warehouse of food, and you've got to pack it all and ship it all.
And there's
like,
limitations
oh my
to
God.
that too, yeah.
Right.
Or the other service like I used where they deliver me the food already cooked, and I just had to heat it up. Same thing, like you mentioned earlier. They're gonna have like a whole bunch of people cooking all night or all day,
Right.
and then a whole bunch of people
And
shipping
then back
that
to
stuff,
limitations.
delivering that
And-
stuff,
and
like
like-
scaling that.
But in your
sucks.
situation too, like your son with the nut allergy,
Yeah.
like you have to, and I can't empathize with that because I haven't been around it, but I know it's stressful for you because it's like, you know, it's just real. Like, because think of the when you've been around in that and you have violated that allergy.
He gets hit from just cross contamination.
Yeah, and that's by the way, that will ruin your day.
He had a reaction a week
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Of
not
ice
good.
cream.
Not good.
Cross contamination.
Not good. Not good.
So many things you don't even think
So
to check.
your model is so much easier to scale.
It is.
You don't have to have a warehouse full of food. You don't have to go buy like a dump truck full of potatoes that come in every week.
No,
which
I
like
would
Blue Apron
I would
do.
imagine that you have some of the same issues we have at Full Scale though, because like when you see a talented chef or someone, you probably have to hire them and then find the client for them. Am I correct?
That is part of the challenge where we have in every city we do business in.
Because if you don't have someone available, people are like, oh, well,
Right.
maybe I'm not going to buy. And
Well,
now you're like, oh.
we have to get to a point in a city where we have some unmet demand, but
Right.
we can't wait until there's enough demand for one full person because then we start losing the people who are waiting for that person.
And then if one of your chefs is sick one
So-
day, somebody else has got to be able to step in.
Right. So
it's a balancing act.
Absolutely. We have to hire them on when we have part of a schedule, and then we have to push to get the rest of that schedule once we hire them on to fill them up as
It's about
fast as
maximizing
possible.
your margins at that point.
Absolutely. And
Okay,
then-
so this has been serious up to this point, but I feel like this is a good place. There has to be some funny stories about going into people's homes and cooking. There has to be
for
something.
sure.
There has to be just, I mean, I know you got to have something you can lay on us. It doesn't have to be crazy, but let's be
Like,
realistic.
you show up and the
People are weird.
husband or
Right.
wife is asleep on the couch, half naked,
Or
know,
just
something. There's
something,
got to be
right?
some stories
Oh,
somewhere.
I had a buddy that was a roofer. It was a roofer,
Right.
and they went to like go do an estimate, and they went up on the roof, and like obviously there's skylights, and like they walked by one of them and realized that his client was like filming porn. I was like, wow, okay.
Reminds me of my days as a paper boy in Grand Junction, Colorado, when I was going around collecting money, and I'm walking between these condos with glass doors facing each other and a bedroom window up top, and I'm knocking on somebody's glass door, and I look up at the opposite one behind me facing that way, and there was a naked lady standing in the window just staring down at me, and I was probably 12 maybe. I thought,
Congratulations.
right.
If you were 12, they probably deserve. I mean,
Right.
That would have made my day at
Yeah.
12. I'm not going to lie.
No, we've had a lot of crazy things happen. We do a really good job of keeping our chefs connected to each other. We have about 50 chefs in the 12 different cities that we have, and we use a lot of technology to keep everybody in touch. And they're always sharing pictures and stories and crazy things. And there was one lady locally that I went to meet one of our new chefs who was training with an existing chef at one of our clients' homes. And I went in, and as I was talking to the new chef, the client came out with a monkey on her shoulder.
That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Right?
You're like, you just don't
And-
expect someone to walk into a room with a freaking monkey on their shoulder.
And I was in their home. So
Did you cook? Did you cook it?
There were. Yeah, I was tempted, but there were no personal barriers because we were in their space.
Yeah,
And this monkey lived with them for years and years and years. So as soon as I was in there, I was a prop for the monkey, and the monkey's on me, and the lady acts like this is just the most normal thing in the world, and this monkey climbing on my shoulder, sitting on my head, pulling at stuff, and I'm shrugging my shoulders and trying not to do anything weird because this is one of my clients, and she's a really good client too. Has referred a lot of people, and great lady, and everything, but just put me in a really crazy position. But everybody who'd been in this house to train had to go through the same thing. Initiation by monkey.
When was the last time you had a monkey on your shoulder, man?
I was in Mexico like 4 years ago.
Okay, I've never had a monkey on my shoulder.
Yeah.
I've had one on my back.
It tried to get into my shorts.
Different monkey, man. Did it really?
Yeah, I dropped like some raisins or nuts, and
Right.
yeah, then it was after mine.
Right.
Yeah,
Was looking for the stash.
yeah.
Right.
Don't ever go to a monkey sanctuary in Mexico. That's my story.
Hang on, let me write that down. I feel like it's pretty.
Oh, use that special pin from Pinco.
Yes, and did I mention also that this podcast is brought to you by Fullscale.io? Breland's in here taking Instagram pictures. It's her show producer, and she gets mad at me when I don't plug the show. Look at this. My notes, like it literally is in.
Yeah, look at that.
Because I can't read.
Yeah,
I have it
yeah.
highlighted. Look for those of you watching
So
on YouTube. It's
these pictures will be on Instagram at Startup Hustle Podcast.
They will be.
Yeah.
Maybe even some video. Who knows? And the picture of the pens.
Yeah.
That came. These are
I saw
really
that.
awesome. By the way, they write really well. At first I was like, you know what? I really love this pen with this like 400 karat jewel in it, and it's gonna write like crap, but it doesn't. So yeah.
Any other great stories besides the monkey?
Yeah.
What do you have? Is there anything on the employee side, like the other way around? Like, I mean, you know, some people are just whether it's an employee. We've talked about this enough. Like,
I got one here.
You have a story about an
No.
employee or about a chef or
I-
about you cooking?
I'm going to propose a problem that's probably happened.
All right.
I'm going to propose that one of these chefs shows up and then ends up dating like the lady of the house or something. The weekly trip turns into more than cooking.
Hasn't happened yet, but we've had some nervous husbands who have been worried about that. And it makes for an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Usually that's
and I bet it would. And some of that's just like, but people
are
are people, and that's
Yeah.
that's the thing, and
Right.
that's where the scalability of a service business,
Right.
whether
Yeah.
it's food services or tech
You're
services,
going in somebody's house.
and that's another thing too. So what we do at Full Scale is we help businesses find. We're kind of like you. Like they're like, hey, I need a chef, but they need a programmer,
Right.
Because they can't find them. There's a huge shortage of them or whatever. And then so we hire people much like you do. And then anytime you have an employee, whether it's ours, yours, or someone else's, they might look great and seem great, and then you got to have them show up and be great,
Right.
Which isn't always the case. And now I haven't been in food service for basically ever. I did used to work at a bunch of bars. I was a bouncer for like 4 years, but I knew everyone in the kitchen. And
Right.
by the way, many of those jobs were not accepted because my friends at those places were the most responsible people or reliable.
Right.
Some people walk out of those jobs. They're kind of like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool and I'm out, and
Right.
they do. Like, so, it's, I don't know. Have you, and I would assume that you've gotten pretty good at filtering folks like that out. But what are some red flags as a service business owner that tell you I probably shouldn't hire this person?
So one of the biggest things is how little time they spend at every job. When I look at a resume, and especially if they don't know to edit their resume in a way that maybe eliminates the job that they were only at for 2 months and the one following it that they were at for 1 month.
Yeah.
And those things. So if
that
people,
represents a problem when people have those short.
We have to give them a little bit of leeway in the food service industry because there are a lot of bad food service jobs out there.
Yeah.
And I don't want somebody who's going to be somebody else's victim and pariah and put up with abuse. But I also don't want somebody that finds something wrong with every job and spends 6 to 9 months at a job.
Sure.
So that's one of the big
So
things.
longevity's one.
Longevity's one.
I would think you have to have a different level of personality. Like you have to be personable. Like because if you're in my house half a day a week and I don't like you, I'm not going to have you in my house half a day a week for very long.
Yeah, our recruiting process and our qualifying process for employees is pretty extensive. So we have a manager that all she does is hire. Well, not all she does. She does some extra things too, but her main job.
So
is,
if you're listening, we do
people.
know that you do more than just hire people.
Right.
And thank you.
And she's a chef that's been with our company for 4 years. She doesn't get to cook anymore because now the hiring is a full-time job.
Sure.
But she's able to test everybody that comes through. And one of the first things that we do is we give them a culinary test. And
so do you actually like have them into like your place or your office or somewhere, and you're like, hey, whip it up?
We do down the line, but we do a couple other tests before that eliminate. We probably get to hire 1 out of every 100 or 200 applicants.
We're in that same ballpark with what we do because
Yeah.
like you said. But the thing is when we find those people, that 1 or 2, man, our clients grab onto them and they do not give them back.
Right.
You have this is the same. Is
Absolutely.
that the same?
Yeah, we get great relationships because
Yeah.
we send the same chef back every week, and they really get to know those people. They get to know their kids.
Right,
They
and
get
that's that
to-
personality thing, and
Absolutely.
so many of it's funny because you can't teach people to be likable. It's very
Right.
difficult. You're either likable or you're not. Like,
Right.
no offense, Matt, you and I, like, we are likable, but not that way that some people are. Like, the truly likable people, they can be like,
Right.
your baby's ugly, and I think you're a dick, and you're like, yeah, that's awesome. I agree with you, because they're just that likable.
Right.
I know one of those people.
Right.
Right.
But you can't, there's something about, you can't change, you can't teach that.
Right.
And it's just a very natural thing.
Yeah.
But having people that are likable, I mean, it really does smooth over a lot of things, where some people are kind of abrasive. I'm just very forward and direct with people. And
Right.
some people don't take that well. They get their feelings hurt.
Right.
And, I mean, Matt, people have told Matt that. They're like, oh, DeCourcy's
Yeah.
just really upfront.
It's one of those.
Matt's like,
tech
he's saying,
guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm rolling. But it's the same thing. And like, and
I tell people that you either love them or you hate them.
oh, whatever. But here's the thing: is like, but it's the same way. But the same thing can also go for you, because like, we have different personality styles. So like, we do a lot our own networking events and stuff like that, where I flourish. I'm very like outward, and I don't mind talking to people about 10,000 different things. And that Matt doesn't enjoy that as much.
Right.
So sometimes it's about putting the people at your business in the situations where they're most likely to succeed.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, do you have some people you're like, oh, we have some client. This client's a little bit difficult. We need to send John over, because
Yeah.
he'll be able to deal with her crap.
Absolutely. And we have a management structure too, where I have an operations director, and then there's 2 area managers under her who each manage a few cities, and then they manage the chefs directly. And all of them have a lot of experience dealing with challenging people. And I come from a country club background, service side of the industry.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too.
Yeah,
Your clientele in general probably is a little
It's upper-
country clubbish.
upper
Yeah.
10% of income
sure.
earners. Yeah. And
That's why Matt's interested in your
Yeah.
services.
And
Yeah.
something that I've always found though is that the people who are the biggest challenges can also be the biggest advocates.
Yeah,
Because
once you get in,
you
and
win
they
them
know that
over.
you're in their
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
because their
yeah.
friends know that they're difficult.
Yep.
All their friends do.
Yep.
So if you win them over and they start talking good to their friends about you instead
They're a big
of bad,
advocate. Yeah.
they can be a huge advocate.
And
So
it's
I like
well,
to
it's
see
like
those
that
people.
too. Like I remember when I first started Gigabook, and some of our first clients, we were like, God, this person cannot figure out how to do it. And I brought that up to someone, and they said, yeah, but if you can teach them how, they will probably be a user forever. And by the way, they are.
A lot of times your biggest critics are your biggest fans.
Yeah.
Like, because they like, you like a product, and you're like, why don't you fix this, this, and this, and then it would be even more amazing.
Right.
And you like it so much that you're frustrated that they won't fix these things,
Right.
And we're all, I think, fans of something
Right.
like that.
And
where-
everybody needs feedback, critical feedback,
Yeah.
regardless. And if you're that's actually one of the things that we check for in our chefs, is we want to make sure that we hire people who can accept critical feedback, because we customize
Yeah.
everything for
That's a
every
great point.
family.
yeah,
If
food's
they
too
can't-
salty or whatever, they can't be crying
right,
about
if,
it.
If they
gotta,
can't cook with light garlic because this family just
Yeah.
doesn't like heavy garlic, then they're not a good chef for us.
Right,
you
and
know?
then some chefs are, well, at least in my experience of never, but maybe sometimes watching cooking shows, they don't always like that.
They can't
Right.
be overly opinionated.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are a
They are
lot
not
of-
the boss.
lot of
Who's the
those.
Hell's Kitchen guy? Is that Gordon Ramsay? I would
is.
probably be like that if I had to run a kitchen. Like, I really would, because I would be in a situation where I didn't really enjoy what I was doing. I would be
Right.
like,
Well, if you
"God."
own a restaurant, you can be that way. Be like, this is my
Yeah.
damn restaurant. If you don't like my food, get the hell out of here.
Right.
But if you're in somebody's house and you're subservient to them,
Right.
they're the boss.
Is
You're
that
in
why
their
you asked me to
restaurant.
leave last time I came over?
If you didn't like my free wine, you can leave.
Dude, you charged me for it last time. You ripped me off.
It was $1.
You know it wasn't. I apparently paid you $140 in Belarusian rubles that you could not exchange.
Which I took halfway across the world and could not exchange at
In
any currency
any
exchange.
airport or
and then we
currency
mailed them to
exchange.
our employee in Belarus because that was the only place in the world I think you can use them.
Yeah. Do you accept Belarusian rubles?
Not yet.
Are you willing?
When we
Because I've got about 1 week worth of, not quite, close. So actually, you gave it back to me.
And we mailed them.
No, we didn't.
Oh, we didn't?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We talked about mailing them.
Yeah. You ask someone to mail them, and I said, you have more important things to do today.
All right.
I will give these back to you, but they're waiting. And I'm hoping that I can maybe get a Belarusian cook.
Oh, okay.
So, well, that's another question. So, do you have, what about like foreign language needs and stuff like that? I mean, is that, okay, so when you talk to people that first move to the United States or any other country where they don't speak the native language, one of the most difficult things is sometimes shopping for food. Because not everything, like, you know, in some countries they actually, like, okay, Gerber with their baby food. I learned this when in one of the 5 schools that I didn't graduate from, I learned this. So you have to understand the culture of where you're going. But Gerber had a baby on their baby food. And in Africa, it's because people speak so many regional dialects, they typically put a picture of what the food is in the container. Right. So think about that. So Gerber sends all this food over and they're like, we're not selling anything. What, do people not eat baby food there?
Right.
And it's literally because the impression would be, this is a jar with babies in it. Right. Not good marketing. But so what about like foreign stuff like that? I mean, is that something you deal with? Or?
So we haven't run across a lot of language barriers yet, but we have clients from different parts of the world, but most of them have been here for a while, and there's not a big language barrier, but we do have to take into account everybody's individual preferences. So I
was going to say, like, ethnic food, like we want you to only
Absolutely.
cook Chinese food or whatever.
We have some Indian clients that they want Indian
True.
food.
Yeah.
And they want the food that they eat at home, but when you have a certain level of chef, if they don't know the actual cuisine, they can learn the ingredients and the mixing part of it from a book, but
if you can cook all Filipino food for me, you're hired tomorrow.
Yeah, we have some.
Do you make the full switch?
Yeah. I mean,
have you changed? Right. Are you an expat now?
Yeah, I want sisig for dinner every day.
All right. Yeah. So we don't have to
some humba and crispy pata.
Because no one knows what that really is. I think this is a good time for us to play Mixtape. Have you ever played Mixtape the game?
I haven't.
Good, because you're about to.
All right.
So mixtapethegame.com, digital version soon. I played it. Getting close. So I pulled by the way, I'm like the most intuitive mixtape the game card puller ever.
Wow.
Because this is very topical. So I'm going to read a scenario, and then all 3 of us are going to name a song that we think goes appropriately with that, and then we'll vote to see who wins. You can't vote for yourself. Pretty simple. You are a vintage bottle of Dom Perignon. I feel like that's topical. What song would you want to be popped to? I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with like. Let me see. I'm gonna pop it to "Money Ain't a Thing" by Jay-Z and Jermaine Dupri, because it's all about money ain't a thing, and Dom Perignon's expensive. So we're just gonna pop it, pop, pop, pop. There is no wrong answer here.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with.
I've got mine.
Lay it on us.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What do you got?
All right. So. If we're talking vintage, Dom, you have resources.
The card does imply vintage,
right.
And so that's actually even more expensive.
Right.
Ooh.
So you're not necessarily
because money ain't a thing.
You're not necessarily struggling anymore, right? I mean, you have some things figured out. Life's a little bit easy, so I'm going to go with Guns N' Roses. It's So Easy from Appetite for Destruction.
That's a great answer.
What song?
I'm a GNR fan.
It's So
man.
Easy.
Yeah. See, Matt's not a GNR fan. Once I had my company Christmas party from all of our employees at a Guns N' Roses concert, and the ticket said 7:30, and they didn't come on until 11:30. Right. I wanted to like climb on stage and fight Axl Rose.
Right.
Oh man.
Pick a song,
I'm gonna go,
Watson.
I guess I'm gonna go with like "We Are the Champions" by Queen. I'm thinking like, we just won the Super Bowl and we're popping bottles.
I'm voting for Brandon.
Yeah, I'm voting for him too.
Boom.
My answer sucked.
And with that, would you like to shoot the money gun? Because I'm afraid now.
Let's
all
do
right.
it.
I do have to tell everyone that Watson said, "Can I load the money gun today with something special?" and then hit it and didn't want me to see what was up. So I am terrified about what could be in the money gun. But yeah, so Matt, are you gonna hand that thing over to him?
Yeah, here we go.
All right, let's do it. Get back for.
Let's see if it actually
Ready?
works. Yeah. Look at that!
Wow.
Oh, man, it worked that time.
All right.
20s.
Yeah.
Oh. Dude,
It's a lot better than ones.
Yeah,
Right?
but I thought Kevin Lockett taught you.
It's a lot better than their dirty ones singles.
See, now,
That was still awesome. By the way, that's the first time the money gun has actually worked.
It actually worked
on
And
the first try.
Well, that's because they were new 20s.
And Brandon, I have bad news for you. You don't get to keep any of the money.
Right.
No.
Because then we'd have to give you a tax form, and
here's
then
where
we'd
the-
have to claim income.
The long-term food service manager in me comes in, and I see all these bills now face different directions
Yep.
and upside down.
He wants
I've
to
gotta,
point them all
pick 'em
together.
up. I need to face them. They all have to go the same
Your
direction.
OCD is
right
kicking
side
in.
up.
That's actually a big
That's
no-no,
like-
yeah.
yeah.
Like the till at the end of the
Yeah,
night. I used to
yeah.
go through that at the bar, dude. It was
Yeah.
excruciating.
It used to be if you took it to the bank and all the bills
Yeah.
went facing the same
I don't like
directions,
it.
you would earn the ire of the tellers.
By the
Man,
way,
you win the award for spraying money in the
by
most
the way,
amount of
yeah,
places.
I'm going to say, Brandon, that was an excellent execution with the new gold money gun. So
Yeah.
congratulations. Okay, so if you want to check out Brandon's services, their website is weeklymealprep.com. They're also doing business as and known in some places as Friend That Cooks,
Yes.
right? But
The name, yeah, that's Friend That Cooks is the name of our company. Weeklymealprep.com is hopefully an easy to remember website for people
Right.
to realize what we do and go there. And if I could plant another seed, soon within the coming years, we're going to be looking for other home service related businesses
Like
to
it.
invest in
Smart.
and scale.
when in Rome.
So for anybody out there in the podcast who's owns a service-related businesses that goes to people's homes, keep tabs on us.
Reach
and
out, people.
Reach out.
Find Brandon at weeklymealprep.com, and they are a Friend That Cooks, and you said that each city has a different Facebook page or group or whatever. So,
Yes.
and if you want to check us out, once again, Stephen Ford, thank you for the pens. I like it. If you want to send in fan art of Matt Watson, do it and see what happens, because I will make your frickin' day, people. I think that would be beautiful. Figure out what you can do with Matt in association with fan art. Who knows? I'll probably send you a money gun. Maybe loaded, probably not. Anyway, we're at Startup Hustle Podcast on the gram. If you get a chance, check out our new YouTube channel. Keep listening and make sure to get someone to come make you some tasty meals. See you next time.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.